become involved as such. I came up with the idea for Harvest Moon. It took about 2 years of planning in the beginning. The reason behind it was we often went to Colchester or London to go to a conference on paganism, but there was nothing in Norfolk. And going to local moots, it was obvious that there is a wealth of people here with wonderful information, knowledge that can be tapped into. And it seems such a shame that there wasn't anything in the area to celebrate what we have here in Norfolk. And so the idea of a conference where we could all get together and share it seemed a perfect way to express that.
Actually involved right from the start. It was only after the first year that I got involved, partly because of the fact that there were circumstances within the organisers that meant that unless more people were to get involved, it looked like it wouldn't actually carry on. So that's how I first got involved, and I enjoyed it so much and so found it so rewarding that I continue to do it for
a little bit of vanity, if we're honest, but more importantly, I think it was the way in which I found myself becoming a pagan owed a lot to the Norfolk pagan community, and this was a meaningful way that I could actually, sorry for the cliche, pay it forward.
Planning a programme is perhaps one of the hardest things we have to do at Harvest Moon. We have to make sure we have a balance of the intellectual and the practical, as well as make sure there's something for every single path so that we can be inclusive in the entire of Norfolk. We also have to try and make sure that if we put something on in one slot, on the other stage is something that perhaps the two different groups wouldn't both want to go to. It's a hard balance and we can't please everyone, but we do the best we can.
It's from a logistical point of view, which is the importance of making sure there's not too much going on all at the same time. People are able to get between the different talks that we run concurrently.
Planning the programme is a bit of a juggling act. You have to think about having good talks on, as well as having entertainment, there being stalls, and allowing people time to just chat and socialise.
The thing I found most useful was that we've got a good team organising the event with a good mix of abilities and talents. You need some people who are very pragmatic and practical, who can heft furniture around at the last minute, and other people who just have that almost business brain, who can juggle the finances and make sure things like budgets aren't neglected.
At the first Harvest Moon, we had a lady who was doing massage taster sessions, and at the end of the day I booked myself in for a foot massage. That was extremely useful. But in all seriousness, what I really find useful is just hanging around, having a cup of tea and talking to people, finding out what they are enjoying about the day, what they would prefer changed, and this enables us each year to make the event better because we can get...
Being an active member of the pagan community, I knew quite a few speakers from the different traditions and paths, and they in turn knew other people who we could bring along to Harvest Moon to talk and do workshops. It really is the elders of the community who have been the most invaluable and have helped wherever they can, given support and good advice, as well as constructive criticism to make the event better every year.
I love Harvest Moon and I enjoy every single second, even though it's utterly exhausting. However, it would be really nice to be able to sit and listen to one of the talks from start to finish without being interrupted. I'm lucky if I get to listen to half a talk, but usually
the fact that no matter how hard you try, you're not going to please everyone. And whereas constructive criticism is always useful, you're bound to get one or two comments that feel personal or negatively directed towards you. My advice would be to shun these off and to forget about them, which is easier said than done because they can kind of nibble away at you, no matter how many hundreds of great feedback comments you get.
I mean, the hardest thing was the utter fatigue, having badly underestimated just how much running around you have to do, both on the night before, during the day itself, and then, oh my, we've got to tidy this up, pack it away and clear the venue. So the lesson we learned from that was to get enough people helping.
I think one of the most important things we decided when choosing a venue was to make sure it was central so people could get there by train, by bus and walk. This was important so that people from different regions in Norfolk and further afield could come along to the event. But also, we wanted some place with character, some place that people would be interested in just visiting, let alone there be a conference there. And so the unique feel of the puppet theatre we found to be perfect.
We are absolutely so fantastically supported by the staff there, really know what they're doing and are just so willing to accommodate what our needs are. So after the first time there, it just made sense to keep coming back. Having that support and that relationship with the venue, it takes a lot of weight off them.
Harvest Moon has been held at 2 different venues. The first Harvest Moon was at the For Women's Centre. We chose this because we didn't know how popular Harvest Moon was going to be. It was a beautiful building and we were able to support a local charity in doing so. Unfortunately, after the first conference, it became obvious it would not do in the future. So many people were squashed into such a small space. From that, we chose the puppet theatre. One of the biggest things that we found was finding somewhere which we could afford.
For me, it's actually just the atmosphere of the place whilst the festival's going on. It's that simple.
For me, the most rewarding part of Harvest Moon is knowing that I have helped to create something that has a profound effect on such an important and personal part of people's lives. Our spirituality or our religion is something that each one of us holds dear.
Recently, the thing I find most rewarding about the festival is the time soon after it. The time when I get to meet up with new friends I've met to discuss new ideas.
Being in charge of the main stage, I get to meet all of the speakers, and a lot of the time these are people I really look up to and consider minor celebrities. I think the biggest lesson I've learned is that they're actually real people as well, and they're more than willing to sit and have a cup of tea and chat to you about pretty much anything from the latest book they're writing to what was on the news last night, or Doctor Who.
Main organisers of the Harvest Moon, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is to make sure that you have a team around you where you can share out responsibilities and not take everything upon your own shoulders. It means that you've got someone there to also support you if you need it. Another thing to remember is that your friends don't always make the best organisers, and it can sometimes cause conflict when you have different.
Really is just don't forget your manners. Remember to thank those who have helped you get the day off to a good start, who've kept it going along all the way through, and you know what, you lot, you're important. You came along. You're just every bit as valuable as any of these speakers or the organisers to making a day a success.
I always live my life by the concept of trusting in the gods. So the idea of insurance and financial matters was a bit alien to me. When we first started, we were very naive in not considering all of these matters, but as we got bigger, we had to consider them more and more. This is one of the reasons why we became a PF conference, as they were able to give us information and guide us upon this process.
When I first said I'd help out with Harvest Moon, I just expected to be doing odd jobs, carrying furniture, moving things from A to B, and just generally being useful. I didn't expect to find myself standing up on stage, introducing people who I have a lot of respect for, and having everybody listen to me. Very odd.
Got to do quite a few interesting things at Harvest Moon, including having a go at Molly dancing. But the one thing I never expected myself to be doing was to be getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to ice cake.
Recently, the most rewarding thing is listening to Emily taking her phone.
So is having minions an okay answer?
No!
No, Mike.